hold on, Paul. We don't have 13. Y'all don't want to talk about 13,
I think we should talk about 13.
man.
Let's skip ahead. Yeah.
Yes.
We skip
Okay.
13. So wow.
Okay.
This
Okay.
issue.
Listen.
My man Ruffus T Wild right there, aka Buck Nasty.
Go ahead, Mike. Break it down.
I mean, basically, as you can tell, this is a spoof on not spoof or parody on Luke Cage. I
Yeah.
mean, the cover alone is I'm pretty sure Icon 13 is always Christmas, and that's a play on Luke Cage's iconic word "Sweet Christmas" that was way back in the day. Um, but it kind of spoke from like a blaxploitation, so to speak, where he's a hero for local folks. He also takes money for work. Pretty much everything, all Luke Cage. I mean, down to a T. So I guess you would call it a homage cover, but it also kind of joked into the fact that Marvel was actually using blaxploitation to actually sell comics and um, interpret our people in their way. So, being somebody from the '90s or whatever, I kind of like this cover because I mean, look at it.
Well, Mike,
The,
we
the,
remember
the,
we had the discussion when we did the Luke Cage roundtable about how the initial Luke Cage books were fine, but it was people that were outside of the Luke Cage writing team that he would be on. He would be in different books that took liberties to create and write him in a very stereotypical way. Um, but shout out to Dwayne McDuffie again for being the biggest troll. Listen, when I first read this, not when I first read this, but when I reread this, you know who I thought about? I thought about Herschel. I said, if Herschel was, this sounds like something Herschel would do. The whole issue is very comical, very hilarious. I mean, what I loved about the writing team and Milestone is that they never took themselves too seriously. They could do real serious work and talk about some real deep issues, and then they'll hit you with this because as funny as this issue was, oh my God, the one issue, I don't think we're gonna be able to talk about it, but there's issue 30 where it says cancel Christmas. OMG. I laughed hard when I read that book. I mean, because it was clear to me that when they wrote this, the people at Marvel had to cringe when they saw it because they're like, I don't believe he did that. And here's another thing too. I don't just think that he was going just simply at Luke Cage. I think he was throwing a shot at Tyrok as well.
Black Goliath.
Yeah, Black Goliath. I mean, he got a few shots in this one issue. Now, to your point, Paul, we talked about it behind the curtain about how he became four like characters.
Yeah.
Or
Here's issue 30 right here, right? And in this issue, you actually see different versions of the character. You've got
that is a funny book.
Buck Goliath,
oh my God.
which is an ode to Black Goliath. You've got, here's an homage to Max Julian from The Player. Blaxploitation. You haven't seen The Player.
Max, you talk about The Player.
You got him playing Jim Crow, which is a play on the Falcon, right? You got his partner, geriatric Captain America there.
That was Patriot right there the other day.
And then you got him as Buck Lightning, which is a play on Black
Black Lightning.
Yeah,
he's Kingfish.
And there's the Kingfish, which is a sort of a combination between Tobias Whale and
Kingpin.
The Kingpin.
Oh, that was on one the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. But you
But
know,
that
I
last
tell you what,
one, bro,
if you
that
go,
last one was
They digged on Brother Voodoo too as well.
oh, that's right. They had a Brother Voodoo. Let me pull that up
that's
too.
not what I'm talking about. The last one,
How do I
man, that was funny. That was
they also had
oh my
Brother
goodness,
Voodoo.
yeah, that was
So ultimately, just so you know, story wise, he dies. Buckwild dies when he backtrack a little bit. Icon goes back to his world. Raquel
yeah.
is super pregnant. She's in her third trimester. She can't go out superheroing anymore. She's just not physically capable to do it, and her partner's gone. So she's got to find replacement. She has her best friend Darnice, gives her the belt, trains her, gives her the costume, makes her be the new Rocket. But she can't do it by herself. So they need someone to fulfill the role of Icon, because ultimately Icon and Rocket, they're there to inspire people and be the hero to the community. So there needs to be someone in the role. The only person they can find to fill the suit, literally, is Buck Wild.
Buck Nasty.
Buck Nasty. So they put him in the suit and so you got Buck Wild and you got Darnice as the new Icon and Rocket. Long story short, in the course and scope, and we're going to talk about issue 25 in a minute, he dies. And this is his funeral. And everyone, this is the Blacksploitation. It's like a player's funeral. So you got your Max Julian character. You got your Cleopatra Jones character, Lysistrata Jones, who's one of his arch nemesis, who's like,
Hold on. Paul,
be careful.
Paul.
I will tame you with my P whip.
Yeah. Now that I was wondering if you was gonna say that. That was hilarious. She has a whip that
I
she
will
calls
tame you with my
whip.
P whip. And so ultimately, Kingfish here is like, I am defined by my nemesis. I can't exist without having my nemesis Buck Wild there. So I'm going to bring him back to life. I'm going to take out this gem of Sidorak or whatever it is and plop it in his dead body. And he brings him back as Buck Voodoo, a version of Brother Voodoo. And they're like, what is Buck Wild saying? They're like, we can't hear under these drums that are sort of a play on the whole Brother Voodoo and the drums that are always playing. If you are a fan of Blaxploitation films, if you are a fan of Bronze Age Black superheroes, because mind you now, and I learned this when I saw Dennis Cowan do his Milestone presentation back when I was in college, and they're talking about this. Understand, Black comic collector fans, pick out all of your black superheroes from the Bronze and Silver Ages, with the exception of Black Panther. 9 times out of 10, what did black characters have in common in their costumes? The V-neck.
Chest was out.
The V-neck. The chest was out. Why? Because the creators wanted to make sure that you knew that these characters were indeed black. So you had to see their black skin. So all these characters had the V-neck. So, Brother Voodoo has his V-neck. When Buck Wild became Icon, he miraculously, his costume had the V-neck. It's just little things like that. It's really an homage to those characters, these two issues.
Yeah, now Paul, go back if you don't mind. Scroll back, bro, because I want people to understand the significance and the genius of Dwayne McDuffie. Go back where Icon is doing the eulogy, because that's critical. If you go back to that part where he's doing the eulogy, okay, he is talking about how, yes, the things that Buck Wild did, you know what I'm saying, it was cringeworthy, but it had merit. And what he was getting, what Dwayne McDuffie was saying, yes, I am trolling Luke Cage, I am trolling Black Lightning, I am trolling all of these characters, but I understand that they were necessary.
Right.
They were necessary. And because they were necessary, you can celebrate them.
Let's
That's the
just
genius.
read this. Let's just read this speech by him. He's I'm considered by many to be a hero, an example of possibility and achievement. And recently, Buck has patterned himself after me. But years before I arrived, Buck Wild was already here, fighting the good fight. Although we, from our current perspective, have found him crude and ill-informed, we cannot deny his importance. Intentions count as much as actions, and Buck was nothing if not well-intentioned. He spent his life fighting for what is right, all the while struggling with questions of identity and public perception that we still do not have answers for. He reinvented himself time and again, searching for a comfortable way to present himself to the world. And while we winced on occasion at his embarrassing speech and demeaning behavior, more often we cheered him on, as we did the day he gave his life for us. This is a commentary on all of these old Black characters that were written oftentimes by certain writers as caricatures. And when
Yes,
we're
sir.
looking at this from a 21st century perspective, we cringe at the way some of these Black characters were treated back in the day. And so you fast forward to Milestone 30 years later, and Milestone's like, we're Black creators and we recognize how poorly treated these characters were. We don't want to do that. We don't want to redo that. We want to put weight on these characters that we're going to create new original characters, and we're not going to reinvent the mistakes of the past. We're going to treat the characters the way they should have been. But understand, McDuffie, Cowan, all these guys, they grew up with those characters too. They wrote on those characters too. They have respect for those characters. And that's what this speech is about, is we can have respect. We can pay homage to these characters, but we know that they played their role, and we're now taking that foundation. We're moving forward, but in a different direction. That's the significance of these issues.